Good evening, viewers, those who are within Uganda and the diaspora. We are glad you have made NTV your #1 station and NTV People's Parliament your favorite program. It's the only platform, of course, that gives Ugandans an opportunity to speak about issues that affect their everyday life, affect their communities, or affect their families. We are yet here in Paliisa district on this Saturday evening to discuss something that affects all families and brings insecurity to the country. That is gender-based violence. How is it in your district, in your region, or in your home? That is the main topic that we are discussing here in Paliisa district. I am your speaker, Agnes Nandutu. Good evening, honorable members. You are welcome to NTV People's Parliament, sitting here in Paliisa discussing nothing but gender-based violence. Before we get the ball rolling, I want to give you some information that we are in the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. It is an international campaign to challenge violence against women and girls. Gender-based violence is a serious human rights violation which has negative health, economic and social, political and security consequences. It disturbs families, fractures communities, and stalls development. Studies show that at least 1 out of every 3 women has been beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused in her lifetime, with the abuser being someone known to her or someone who is her close friend or better half. And as we talk about gender-based violence, the most common forms of gender-based violence in Uganda include domestic violence, child marriages, property grabbing, and sexual harassment in the workplace, defilement, and rape. According to the 2016 Uganda Demographic Health Survey, women in Uganda are more than twice as likely to experience sexual-based violence. What are we doing to end the vice? What are the Paliisa people doing to end gender-based violence in your communities and in your homes? Before we get the debate going, I would like to get an official from the district to give us a preamble on what is happening in district concerning gender-based violence. You have the platform, honorable member. You introduce yourself and you go on.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and honorable members of this august House, People's Parliament. I am Mayanja Idi. I'm the Senior Community Development Officer of Paliisa District Local Government, and with that docket is where sexual gender-based violence lies. For Paliisa, as other districts in Uganda, we continue to grapple with sexual gender-based violence. With the little statistics that we have gathered, we conducted a survey, a baseline survey in 2008, and sexual gender-based violence was at 65%.
In the Paliisa district? In
Paliisa district, which...
This is a hot spot then?
Yes, which made everybody, especially the duty bearers of Paliisa District Local Government, to come together to ensure that we come up with a SGBV...
Just close the microphone and face.
SGBV strategic what? Plan. And from that time, we devised interventions of ensuring that SGBV is reduced. Now, through our programming, because of time, we intensified on the community sensitization and mobilization of the masses to create awareness that this problem is not for the duty bearers, but a community what? Problem of the people of Paliisa. And that one, we went full blast with the help of some development partners at that time, and we want to thank Action Aid that at that time it came in. Then there was issues of treatment and care. it was a very big problem that though these people were undergoing through sexual gender-based violence, but
treatment and care of the victims.
Of the victims, the survivors, yes. And that one was also spelled out in our strategic development plan to ensure that people, the survivors who have gone through sexual gender-based violence are treated and cared for. And that partnership with the hospitals, we ensured that there is enough training, and we want to thank our partners, that is the Regional Health Integration Training Health Services in Eastern Uganda. They have come up to ensure that we are rolling out all this training for purposes of treatment and care. The other studies that I want to give you with the intervention is that currently, as Paliisa, with whatever that we have managed to do, SGBV has reduced, it stands at 48% in Paliisa, but we are still very high with the national average that stands at 46%. For Paliisa, it is a rare case that 92% in Paliisa, women don't own and control property. So it is a very big problem, which has actually been the biggest problem for the cause of the sexual gender-based violence in Paliisa, and we are calling upon everybody to ensure that we work very hard to reduce poverty in our homes.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Member. I will probably give you another opportunity to come back and give. Thank you for the information. Just as you have heard, they have fought it from 65% to now 48%. I think they are doing a good job with the partners. As you are aware, our partners are advocates for better health and regional health integration to enhance services in Eastern Uganda, Rights E. And on this note, I want to invite somebody from regional health integration to enhance services in Eastern Uganda. That is Rights E.
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Honorable members, if you count from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, today or tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to get beaten, are going to be denied money, or are going to get money pulled from their pockets. So as we sit here, sometimes we talk about statistics, and it's very hard to think what that actually means. Just count the row where you're sitting and realize half of you today, tomorrow, or the day after will suffer some form of gender-based violence. And sometimes gender-based violence actually leads to death. A story from one of the districts last week that a mother died, a pregnant mother that was almost giving birth. Her husband went out, drank, came back, and beat her. And guess where he beat? He beat the pregnant stomach, and he just kept beating and beating. And she started bleeding and bled. And the next thing we know, how did I know? I knew it as a maternal death. A woman has died, her unborn child has died. Those are the consequences of gender-based violence. So for me, standing here as part of the regional health integration to enhance services in Eastern Uganda, I want to ask you, what are you doing in your community? The district representative said they worked with the communities. When it occurs in your community, what do? Do you know the channels that you can report? Now, we are supporting the district, the district itself, with the DHO here, to make sure that when you go to the facility and you've suffered gender-based violence, you can actually be helped. You can receive counseling, you can be treated, you can receive some prophylaxis to make sure you don't get HIV. So all those services are there. But where does the gender violence occur? It occurs mostly in the community. So again, it is us, the people, who move from the community into the health facility to get this help. So we'll do our best to make sure that the help is available for you. We have the district commitment and the district support to get the services available. But please, I ask, move from the community to the facility. And also, peer, you're here. When you go home, talk to someone else, to your brother, to your neighbor. Tell them, don't beat your wife. Wife, don't beat your husband. Uncle, don't beat aunt. Because that's the only way we can stop gender-based violence. We all have to be involved and concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that information. The honors is on us, the people of Paliisa. What are we doing to end the vice, gender-based violence? You have 2 minutes, Honorable Member.
My name is Ukaki John Julius from Kisimi Sub-County.
Can you give us some information of what is happening in your community where you stay?
Anyway, violence is there. We always go to the communities and advise, sensitize, educate the stakeholders to avoid such scenarios. We do really put more emphasis in sensitizing the men who are the main causes of this violence.
Okay.
That is the issue.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You have the platform.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Closer to the microphone, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Ogaram Suleiman, happen to be the chairman of what we call male champions. We have involved religious leaders. We have involved cultural leaders. We have involved the young and old about this evil. It is really an evil. Someone just kills, don't talk about even beating, but beats to kill. Not intentionally, but because one under the influence of alcohol, there are people who think that women should not own any property. So we pass through those guys called cultural leaders or clan leaders. But it is really a very serious issue. We should all come out and fight this evil of gender-based violence.
That's very bad and something we should run away from.
Right, Honorable Speaker of Parliament, all honorable members of Parliament are on. I am Honorable Hope Agola from Kibale County. Honorable Speaker, it is very true that the women are most vulnerable to this. But also there is, we've tried to have a protection to the rights of the human dignity through organizing groups of the women. And this has been done by Action Aid through Women Protection Center. We have groups and they've tried to sensitize them on their rights. And also, Action Aid in particular has lawyers that have tried to enhance and enforce rights on these women, that the property belongs to you. Once you are married to your husband, all the property is being shared. So it is being fought, just like the district official said, that the rate was at 60% and now it has reduced. And then the other thing is that mostly the children, girl child, we have an example of ugly. When the woman divorces the man and the man marries another woman, this woman intends to give in false information to the man, and these men are just used. They accept what the woman has said. We have an example of ugly, where a man beat his own daughter to death. Up to now, he's in jail. So I think there is need to look for, I don't know what method, to see how we can fight this. Women who are being married as second women, and the first woman has gone away. Let's try to be human to these children. This child is very, very innocent. This child doesn't know the marriage between you and your husband. Why do you give false information? I thank you so much, Honorable.
Thank you. Can I have a lady who has experienced gender-based violence? Come and give us the testimony. Please go ahead, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. By the name, I'm Lloyd Grace. I'm a speaker in Paliisa Town Council, but I'm going to share my testimony with you. I lost a husband in 2003, but immediately the man died. He left me very sick, with even a sick child. But the relatives came in, they wanted the property, they wanted the land. I had to battle until I had to come to Action Aid. They called them to police, and the matter was sorted out. They called a clan meeting, they sat them down, sensitized them, told them Whatever the lady leaves behind is for the widow and her children. There is nothing like a brother-in-law or a sister, or a nephew or a grandmother taking anything as far as the lady's property is concerned. So when they talk of gender-based violence, I passed through it. It wasn't easy. You're sick, nobody's even assisting you, you're bedridden, they're grabbing property. It wasn't easy. So when they talk of gender-based violence, it is true, and some of us have passed through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Remember, she's a speaker, but she has gone through gender-based violence. What about the woman on the ground who has not even gone to school, who even doesn't know the direction to the police station? What happens to such women? Or men, like somebody says, even men are facing gender-based violence. These are the people from Paliisa speaking about gender-based violence with support from advocates for better health and regional health integration to enhance services in Eastern Uganda. Let's go for a short break. NTV People's Parliament comes back shortly. Welcome back. You are still watching NTV People's Parliament, sitting here in Paliisa District, chaired by none other than your Speaker, Agnes Nandutu. Honorable members, can we hear from the police? Are you doing enough to end gender-based violence in the Paliisa District? Please, Honorable Member, you have a platform.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. ASP Basalirwa Edith, Acting DPC Paliisa. It is true, gender-based violence is in Paliisa. As police, we have done much to put this vice down in partnership with the other stakeholders like the Action Aid, the district, the local leaders, the religious leaders. In that, we even go for community policing. We talk to the community as we bring the public on board. We tell them the disadvantages of gender-based violence, and this more so affects the ladies. We have a department called the CFPU, which handles issues of domestic violence. Even us ourselves, we come in to counsel people, because there are some issues whereby you're not supposed to take them to court, and more so when you take someone to court or you jail someone, it's like you're like dividing them. So sometimes we try our level best as police to counsel and bring the families together. Unless when it is at the worst, that's when we can say no, this one has to serve, and really the victim can also feel relieved from what he has gone through. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Please go ahead. Have you also ever been beaten by your wife, Honorable Member?
Just to wait.
Okay.
I am senior citizen Joram Mpande, and I double as a district councillor. What are we doing as senior citizens? With us, we are triangulating information first in the Paliisa district. And honorables join us in triangulating or cross-checking information on GBV in the Paliisa district. We are aware that most of these GBV cases and figures are exaggerated. Join me in cross-checking. They are exaggerated because most development partners are awash with donor funding. Unless you exaggerate the situation, no donor funding. Even our communities are awash with donor funding.
We have had cases where somebody killed a son, another person killed a wife. Is that exaggeration?
True. We are saying that some are genuine and some are not as senior citizens. What these people call sufferers. Look at the word of our girls. I'm talking as a senior citizen. What these people call sufferers, victims, there is even a worse word. Survivors are actually may not be that. Madam Speaker, unless this information.
Honorable Member, there's somebody who...
Madam Speaker, unless this information.
Through you, Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Speaking give us the exact example of that case that was exaggerated when it's not right? I thank you.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, let me wind up. Madam Speaker, allow me. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, hey, this is a debate. Yes.
There is order from somebody. What's your point of
Thank
order?
you.
Honorable?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Is it in order for the Honorable Councillor or Honorable to come from the audience and instead of giving an inquiry, again it's asking for information? Is it in order?
Because he wants him to substantiate his statement.
I thought.
Madam Speaker, let me finish. Madam Speaker, for us in Paliisa district, as the senior citizens, we are empowering available knowledge. I do that.
Can you substantiate your statement of exaggeration of gender-based violence in Paliisa?
Exaggeration?
Yes.
Yes. Madam Speaker, and some members are here that have done interventions in Paliisa district on GBV. Some people here are aware that I championed interventions on teenage mothers. Some members here, particularly the district, is aware. And partners like Action Aid even supported me. And true that some of these girls were not really violated.
Okay, Honorable Member.
Now let me finish up. For us, now, if somebody.
Order, Honorable Members, order.
Half a minute for somebody.
Please, wind up.
Hello. Madam Speaker, I'm winding up. If we are to address GBV in Paliisa, let's enhance our local institutions. Let's address GBV by using locally available knowledge, local available skills in the homes and in the community, and local available capacity.
Okay.
For us, we are not looking at police. It is not solving. Court, it is not. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Join me, Honorable.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable members of the People's Parliament gathered here today, I am Honorable Moses Dombo, and I am the Chief of Party of the Advocacy for Better Health Project. Honorable Speaker, allow me to diverge a little bit by beginning on a point of responding to the senior citizen, Honorable Mpande. I respect Honorable Mpande's contribution to this country by virtue of his age. I am disturbed by his opinions on very important issues. The wise say, weak men beat women and children. That is a proverb.
And a real man, there's also another one, they say, a real man safeguards his daughter or his son.
Exactly.
And doesn't beat his wife.
And doesn't beat his wife. Honorable Speaker, two things. Number one, I am disturbed by if government is doing enough. I was doing some quick research to find out how much money is allocated to issues of social development in the district, and the figures have disturbed me. Of 29 billion shillings that come into the district, only 2.9% is allocated to issues of social development. And 100% of our people benefit from social development. But only 2.9% of budget is allocated to them. Honorable Speaker, respectfully to the honorable member here, who doubles as the head of police, how many of these cases you have told us have been prosecuted conclusively and brought to book?
The question goes to the police, please. Just 1 minute, Honorable Member.
Thank you, the former Honorable Speaker. We have 4 cases. As per the for the last 3 months, we have 3 cases which have been prosecuted in court. The rest we have been counseling and reconciling. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the good work, but at least you need to do more.
I'm by name Honorable Biantalo Njai Aus. I would like to inform the police that there was a case in 2012 of a man forcing the wife to breastfeed the dogs. How far did that case go? Recently, this very year, Honorable Speaker, we witnessed a man who killed his wife, who was pregnant, as they have been extraditing from
In
here.
Agure.
Not in Agule, just here in Nangaiza.
That's another case.
That's
different.
another case, just this year. In Paliisa here, it is very common.
And then, Honorable Senior Citizen, you are saying the situation is exaggerated. Here are the testimonies. Please go ahead.
So, I would like to hear from these organizations, which we know they do their work. And the other thing is, how has the liaison officer of police done it? You have talked about policing, community policing. We have never got it. I'm born of Kogonyo. I've never seen in my village, Kogonyo village, having a police coming to sensitize them on particular events. Gender-based violence is very common here. There are those who suffer with it severely, but the majority suffer with it psychologically, which may not be mentioned. They are mentioning about the physical part of it. There are people who would go without food in a day. And if it is reported, the police takes it for granted.
Thank you, Afande. So were you here during that time of that case that was being mentioned? Please give the information about breastfeeding of the dog.
I'm called Corporal Play, District Community Liaison Officer Paliisa. During that time of breastfeeding of that child, by the time I was out of Paliisa, I was not in the But
what did you do about it?
What I did about it...
Come closer to the microphone.
What we did about it was saying it is very, very bad act. And up to date...
Order. Actually, hey, come here, Mama. Somebody is very, very furious with your statement, Afande. Stay there. Somebody from Action Aid.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That case was referred to Action Aid. Action Aid resettled that woman, got her from the husband's home. She's in her father's home, near the father's home, but she was constructed for a house. She's living in her own home that Action Aid constructed for her. Recently, she got a psychosocial problem. We took her to Butabika for some months. She recovered. We brought her back. Now she is home. The last thing she asked for was a hoe because she wants to dig. She had planted some cassava in her father's garden. So that woman is there. She is alive. She is fine. The only issue, as nature has it, she has also still demands for a man. So she still gets those men. The men come and make her pregnant, not the other husband. So right now, isn't she pregnant? I think she has been to police. She's already again pregnant.
Thanks for the information. But at least Action Aid did something, but the police just condemned. Thank you for condemning, Honorable Member. Please, go ahead. Order, Honorable Members. Order.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable members who have come this evening, in my own finding and experience, I'm almost supporting the men. The ladies of these days, not of my time, are really bullying the men. That is another cause of domestic physical violence, because when a gentleman comes from out, maybe, social life somewhere, a lady says, we women have the right now. We are equal to you. Where have you been? So, because she's weak, the other one has to, push her a little, and there she rushes. I conclude by saying, we parents here, before a girl gets into marriage, let's try to counsel them, give them hints on a good marriage. I think that will help us. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you. Let's go for a short break, and when we come back, we are going to focus more on a way forward. What can we do as the people of Paliisa? What can we do as the Ugandans to ensure that gender-based violence is out of our country to ensure security in families and the entire country. Yes, welcome back. You are still watching NTV People's Parliament, sitting here in Paliisa district discussing gender-based violence.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, fellow parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you, Mama, for actually bringing, because they have been blaming only the men, but we also blame the women. But it's also vice versa. A man can decide to get a chick outside, and he denies
a chick,
a woman outside.
Okay.
He denies his wife her full rights, a right to love, liberty, and many others.
Are you mean conjugal rights?
Exactly. So now, what does the woman do? When a man comes back, you are not welcomed well. Instead of a woman putting on a fene face, it will be sumbusa. And what happens to the house? The devil will take over the house. No grace of the Lord in the house. So that one is one of the causes, the causes of the violence in our communities. And what should we do for men? Just create, love. It is something we look at it as something, but it's very important. It can affect our families.
Yes.
Create love, create time for your wife. And always during the time of planning, call your wife and plan with her.
Okay.
Don't leave her aside.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. A way forward, Honorable Member.
As a way forward, I would just focus on this one thing. Let the police come in and do the sensitization together with us who are the advocates for gender-based violence. Let us involve the religious people. We go up to the institutions, because in the long run, it is our children, the girl child and others, who are to suffer the consequences of the gender-based violence.
Thank you. Can I have the cow?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, fellow honorable members in this House. First of all, I want to respond to advocacy for better health over the 2.9% of the Paliisa budget towards social development. Social development is a dictate of whatever efforts we put in all government programs. If the ladies who we batter don't have access to police, to the roads that take them to police, if the ladies who we batter don't have access to the health units we are constructing, if the ladies who we batter don't have access to the water he has been talking about, that will all affect the gender issue. So government interventions are multi-directional, to the extent that if we say social development in relation to gender has been given 2.9% of the 29 billion, we are doing an all-round development aspect to answer the issues of social development. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Cow. You have the platform.
Yeah, through you, Honorable Speaker, and other honorables, I'm Robert Opio-Wire, representing Advocates for Better Health, USAID. In Paliisa, we have structures that we work with to address these issues. But at times, they are also not empowered enough to do this work. And probably they also they don't have policies that can guide them to address these issues. And if they don't have these policies, it will be hard for them to hold somebody accountable, to follow up the cases, to reach to the responsible person, to where the issue can be settled. You have seen cases like a man beating a wife because of feeding the dog. if the structures in the communities were empowered, like the ones we have in Advocates for Better Health, like the champions and the community groups that we work with, if they are empowered and they know the rights to handle these issues and cases, I believe we shall have no more cases on GBV. But because there are no maybe ordinance at the district level, there are no bylaws in our sub-county levels, that's why people are trying to commingle issues. And at the end of the day, they lose track, they lose where to report, and by the time they even lose, they go to police to report, they have been even threatened, and at the end of the day, the case loses its meaning. So at this time, I'm tasking the district leaders, that's the CDO team, to ensure our bylaws and ordinance at the district level are being passed and given to the CDO at the sub-county levels, such that at any time, if such cases occurs, they have something that can help them move on.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Please, the lady.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The Honourable Parliamentarians here. I am Honourable Acham Josephine from DHO's office, Paliisa.
Okay.
Okay, in our medical statistics, we have reports of defilement and rape. And it's true, we always have them every month. So, it is real that girls are raped, girls are defiled, and there are early marriages. The question is, what are we doing in the Paliisa district to end gender-based violence? To me, I feel, if we embrace girl-child education, we shall be protecting this younger girl from these men there who are waiting for them.
This one here.
Those ones. To defile our girls, to rape them, and giving them early teenage pregnancies. Yeah. So the parliamentarians here, let's advocate for this girl-child education. If we did so, we will have tried to reduce the gender-based violence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Please.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Yes.
This is Honourable Isaac Kalebo, a youth activist from Paliisa. I want to begin by registering 2 disappointments to fellow parliamentarians. The first one was the figures were given by the district local government that reduced from 65 to 48. I must say this is still misleading. The second one.
Somebody wants to give you information from the district.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. And I want to inform this August House that these figures are right, they are researched. Go on UDHS, you will find it. That is the source where we have got this information. Then Paliisa in eastern Uganda is second to Amuria as far as sexual gender-based violence is concerned. So I would request you, give suggestions with that 48% that we have currently, how it can be reduced to 0. I thank you.
So those are statistics in black and white, Honourable Member.
I still don't believe, but we shall subject to time. I still don't believe. So to my recommendations, one, or what we have been doing is to continuously carry out human rights education. People need to know their rights so that they're empowered. Let them not just talk about my rights. Second, I urge all the stakeholders, including the district local government, to carry out economic empowerment, because you cannot demand for rights when your pocket is also not doing well. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Honourable Speaker, please allow me to tell you one reason in my community that you have not mentioned, and actually it is the biggest cause of gender-based violence.
Go ahead, please.
This is it is absence of sex and romance. There is women empowerment in my community. Most of my fellow women in my community are business ladies. They go up to Rira, they bring charcoal, they go to Bugisu, they bring matoke, they sell tomatoes. So they have their money. So they don't mind about a man. For them, they have that empowerment. So you have the money, I have the money. You can't buy me a shoe, I can buy my own shoe. So there is that empowerment in the family. In my community, I don't know what is in your community. So I wanted to get solutions on this, especially sex and romance. What do we do? Thank you, Honorable Member.
Yes, advocates for better health. Can you please wind up?
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Thank you, members. I think this has been a very engaging conversation. I want to bring out a few issues as a summation. Number one, I think I want to begin on a negative note, try to finish on a positive note. To say to our senior citizen once again, and other members here, this is not an exaggeration. None of us is here because we are trying to get money from donors. The facts speak for themselves. Teenage pregnancies. Uganda is on record as having the youngest grandmother in the world at 27 years old. I don't think that is a good reputation for us as a people. We should all remember that there are roles, rights, and responsibilities. The mama who spoke here about women being empowered and having rights and talking about equality, yes, the times have changed. The equality is there. Let's respect the rights and the roles and the responsibilities that we all have. I want to thank, Honorable Speaker, yourself and everybody who has participated and come here because of demonstrating strong partnerships. Thanks to the law enforcement officers, thanks to government. This is what we want. Let's do this as a partnership. This is not a problem for one person. This is our problem. Let's deal with it, all of us together in partnership. Let me conclude with two things. Let's continue to focus our eyes on the 14-year-old girl. The average population in Uganda, the biggest population, is that 14-year-old girl. Let us always remember that 14-year-old girl and try to live a future that will be beneficial for all of them. Where everybody is accountable, everybody wins. But, romance, men, how can you allow this to be said of you? Please go back today and determine to start with your wife by calling her sweetie, honey, hug her, love her, help her wash the plates. Let me tell you, men, I wash plates in my home. I cook in my home. And I've never become less of a man. Actually, every time I do those things,
more of a man.
I get a better deal. Finally, Honorable Speaker, as I sit down, we want to call upon government. There is something, a vice that has not been talked about. As you drive through the district of Paliisa, like many districts in Uganda, the young men are playing matatu. The young men are chewing mirao, whatever that they call, they're chewing dodo, which is bitter.
They go for betting.
They go for betting. Can we have government, please, please, help us get the young men back to work. You parents, get your sons back to work. Where everybody is accountable, everyone wins. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, this has been very interesting. When you talk about issues of gender-based violence, you will talk until the cows come back home. Honorable members who have been watching us, this is a very interesting topic that you can speak and speak. And does not only happen in the Paliisa district, but also in Bududa, in Lira, in Gulu, and everywhere in the country. And as Ugandans, we need to do enough to ensure that we end this vice. 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. NTV is at it. Together with our partners, Advocates for Better Health and Regional Health Integration to enhance services in Eastern Uganda. As NTV, we are pushing this one forward. Thank you for being part of NTV People's Parliament. As usual, I aspire to inspire you before I expire. With powers conferred upon me as the Speaker of People's Parliament, I adjourn this House until next Saturday when we shall continue with the same topic of gender-based violence.
The views expressed on this show do not represent those of NTV or its staff.